At the beginning of Part 3, we see Gollum's memories when he was still a hobbit named Smeagol. He and his friend Daigle on a fishing trip accidentally picked up the One Ring in the river. Both were tempted and coveted by the ring. Smeagol ruthlessly murdered his friend to get the ring, but then he was increasingly corrupted physically and mentally, turning into a disgusting creature called Gollum. After the battle at Helm's Deep, Gandalf joined Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli and Theoden to Isengard to question Saruman about the Dark Lord Sauron, and that they had encountered Saruman was being imprisoned on his tower by Treebeard. Merry and Pippin were happily enjoying the food in Saruman's barn. Gandalf warned everyone to be careful with him. Despite being defeated, Saruman is still very dangerous. Saruman appeared at the top of the tower and demanded reconciliation, but King Theoden refused in enmity. Saruman also didn't want to cooperate and fought back with a magic spell directed at Gandalf. But now that Gandalf has been given more power than Saruman, unharmed, he even responded by destroying Saruman's steel staff. Grima Wormtongue appeared behind Saruman. Theoden asked him to return, but Saruman despised it and trampled his spy. Outraged, Grima stabbed Saruman with a knife, causing him to fall into the water and die. Grima himself was also hit with an arrow by Legolas, killing him too. Gandalf seized Saruman's palantir and brought it back to Adoras. The communication spheres were once the property of Gondor, but now they are used to communicate with the Dark Lord Sauron, as Sauron also holds such another one. With his curiosity and naughty waiting at midnight, Pippin sneaked out the Palantir sphere and accidentally connected with the Dark Lord. Fortunately, he was saved by everyone in time, which frightened Pippin. But it also informed Gandalf of Sauron's plan when he is preparing to attack Gondor. The Dark Lord wanted to hasten his plan to conquer Middle-earth. Gandalf suggested that Rohan would help, but Theoden showed little interest, causing Gandalf to go to Minas Tirith, the capital of Gondor, to check on the situation there himself. He had brought Pippin with him. When he reached Minas Tirith and presented himself to the steward Denethor of Gondor, Denethor appeared grief-stricken with the death of his son Boromir and Meek with the dangers approaching from Mordor. Pippin felt guilty because Boromir had to sacrifice, so he swears fealty to Denethor to make up for that great loss. Feeling that Gondor was too weak with a conservative leader, Gandalf joined Pippin to trigger the lighting of the beacons, which call for help from Rohan. Upon receiving the news, unlike the disinterest of days before, King Theoden saw that if Gondor fell, Rohan would be the next destination of the Orc legions from Mordor, because Rohan is directly behind Gondor. Theoden had ordered the marshals to gather all the horsemen of the kingdom together and march towards Minas Tirith. Merry also wanted to go to war. He went to King Theoden to ask to serve him and was accepted by him to become a knight of Rohan. At Osgiliath, the gateway city of Minas Tirith is being invaded by legions of orcs when half of the city is already under their control. Faramir and his soldiers could only defend weakly until the Nazgul themselves took over, and the situation deteriorated rapidly. Faramir was forced to abandon the city and retreat to the capital Minas Tirith. Faramir's retreat became difficult when pursued by the Nazgul. They were almost unable to resist, and Gandalf quickly rushed to the rescue. With his power, he drove away the fleeing Nazgul and brought the Gondor soldiers back to the city safely. Here Faramir met Pippin with amazement. Gandalf asked if this was not the first hobbit Faramir met. He replied no and said that he had met Frodo and Sam at Ithilien. They are going to Mordor. Denethor reprimanded Faramir for having lost the city of Osgiliath and missed his chance to get the ring. He asked Faramir to retake the city of Osgiliath. Faramir understood that was impossible but still carried out the order in the hope that Denethor would think differently about him when he returned. Faramir led a force towards Osgiliath, but no miracle happened. Only Faramir returned and was badly wounded by an arrow from the enemy. Denethor became more and more devastated in madness when he thought that Faramir was dead, his line destroyed. By this time the legions of orcs from Mordor were also approaching the city of Gondor. Witnessing that scene, Denethor had no will left. He urged the whole city to run away and fend for themselves. Gandalf appeared to defeat Denethor in anger and lead the defenders in his stead. The legions of darkness also began to attack the city along with the Nazgul. The most important battle starts with weak defenses from the city. On the Rohan side, King Theoden had gathered 6,000 horsemen, less than half of what he had originally planned, but Theoden used all these troops to deploy in the form of the Aereds. Previously in Rohan's Aereds cavalry formation, only 120 men for such a team, and each of Rohan's commanders had only one. Theoden now deployed on 50 times the scale, forming the largest cavalry force of Aereds in history. Lord Elrond then went to Rohan to meet Aragorn personally. He fulfilled his daughter's wish when he forged the sword Narsil, the legendary sword of King Elendil used by Isildur to cut the Lord's Ring from the hand of the Dark Lord Sauron. Lord Elrond also informed Aragorn that not only was the main orc army of Mordor attacking the city of Minas Tirith, but other secret armies were being deployed. One of them was the Corsair pirates moving from the south. Still too few people to stop them. Elrond wanted Aragorn to use the army of the ghosts that inhabited the mountain to win. This is the army that once swore allegiance to Aragorn's ancestor, King Isildur. But when the final alliance battle between the elves and the humans took place, they did not answer Isildur's call. So he cursed all the warriors of this race. They will not be liberated until they fulfill their old oath. Now they are just ghosts, but if they can be used, this will be an extremely powerful army. But this army only answered the call of the King of Gondor. Elrond gave the sword Anduril to Aragorn, forged from the shards of Narsil's sword. Lord Elrond asked Aragorn to return to his royal destiny, forgetting his nomadic life. Live and dedicate himself to the freedom of the Middle-earth like his ancestors did. The time has come for Gondor to need a true king to return after more than 1,000 years of vacating the throne. Aragorn, with Legolas and Gimli, separated from the Rohan horsemen and went to the paths of the dead, proving to be the only living descendant of Isildur. The army of the dead answered Aragorn's call. Aragorn used this army, driving off the pirates who were on the way to Mordor's reinforcements. In the capital city of Minas Tirith, the battle was very intense when the orc legions broke through the main gate and flooded in. Gandalf and the Gondor warriors were struggling to below when Denethor was desperate to burn both himself and Faramir. Pippin also tried to stop him but failed. He quickly ran to find Gandalf for help. But when Gandalf moved upstairs to save Faramir, he encountered the Witch King, Sauron's powerful henchman. Gandalf was now tired after a long time fighting the enemy with the Gondor soldiers, so he was quickly knocked down after a spell using the Witch King's power. At this moment, the Rohan army reached the gate to the surprise of the enemy. They moved secretly through hidden forests to appear in the capital Minas Tirith. It made Witch King surprise. He immediately left to command the forces against Rohan's army. The Rohan horsemen swarmed down with the finest horses of Middle-earth. They completely overpowered the orcs here, as fighting in the open field was Rohan's forte. They maximized their fighting power from the horses, which caused the orcs to panic and run away a lot. Moments later, the situation in the field was under control. Gandalf also quickly ran to the Tomb of the Kings to save Faramir from the pyre, and Denethor was still crazy, so he was burned alive. However, the enemy also promptly protested when launching the Mumakil war elephant army with giant elephants. They really made it difficult for the Rohan horsemen, as they were so big and hard to find weak points with the elephant's thick skin. After observation, Elmer realized that the weak point of this army was in the operator of the elephants above. Thus, the elephants were gradually defeated. At that time, the Witch King was on high. He found the King of Rohan and rushed down to launch an attack to kill King Theoden. The Witch King also wanted his mount to swallow the king to frighten the Rohan army. But at that time, Eowyn, the princess of Rohan, disguised as a warrior to go to the battlefield, approached to stop him. She skillfully decapitated the Witch King's mount, making him more serious. With powerful mace strikes, Eowyn's shield was shattered and her arm was wounded. The Witch King said that no man could defeat him. This is also the prophecy about him in the past. But in an unnoticed moment, Merry in the back stabbed the Witch King with the dagger given to him by Elf Queen Galadriel. It had the power to seal the power, so the Witch King was immobilized for a moment. Seizing the opportunity, Éowyn moved forward to remove her helmet, stating that she was not a man as a confirmation of what the Witch King had said earlier, and then thrust her sword straight into his head, dissipating him as well. At the very next moment, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli also reached Gondor by another route, leading the army of the ghosts to war. With dead souls still able to cause damage, the enemy army was completely overwhelmed and quickly defeated, bringing an unimaginable victory to the humans in Middle-earth. At the end of the war, Aragorn fulfilled his promise to the army of the ghosts to free them, despite Gimli's advice not to do so. Éowyn was also brought into the healing house for treatment after coming into close contact with the Witch King. There Éowyn met Faramir, and the two quickly developed feelings for each other. By this time Frodo's journey had reached Minas Morgul, but now Gollum also begins to plot to regain his ring by separating Frodo and Sam, causing the two of them to conflict. Sam was left behind, but because of his promise, Sam went behind Frodo to protect him. Without Sam, Gollum easily tricked Frodo into the den of the monster Shelob, one of the great spiders residing in the Black Mountains. Frodo was poisoned by it and lost consciousness. Fortunately, Sam reappeared in time. He used the sting to drive away the spider Shelob. Then the patrol orcs appeared. Thinking that Frodo was dead, Sam couldn't take Frodo with him, so the orcs brought Frodo to their watchtower. Sam had followed the orcs to the watchtower, and in the chaos luckily saved Frodo. Although the Mistral armor was captured by the orcs, the ring was kept by Sam for a short time. Sam gave the ring back to Frodo, and the two continued the last steps when officially walking on the territory of the Dark Kingdom of Mordor. But the problem was that there were hundreds of thousands of orcs here in all the lands of Mordor. It's too hard to get through that easily. Gandalf and Aragorn also understood this. Aragorn wanted to give Frodo a chance by luring all these orcs to another place. It was to cause a war, an attack on the Black Gate, so Aragorn mobilized the remaining soldiers of Gondor and Rohan towards the Black Gate. And the orc forces in Mordor also moved to the Black Gate to fight. Thanks to that, Frodo and Sam could move easily towards the volcano. At the Black Gate there was a conversation between Aragorn and the messenger Mordor. The messenger showed Gandalf the mithril shirt Frodo had worn to make people think that he is dead, but Aragorn did not believe this. He went ahead and beheaded the messenger and marched with his army to fight the enemy for Frodo. Frodo and Sam drew closer and closer to the volcano, but Frodo was exhausted, so Sam picked up Frodo to continue this difficult journey. But Gollum is also here with the intention of getting the ring back. Sam had stayed to stop Gollum so that Frodo could enter the door leading into the center of the mountain. But when he was about to destroy the One Ring, Frodo succumbs to the ring. He did what Isildur did in the past, which was to take the ring as a treasure for himself. Gollum also went in to defeat Sam and then rushed in to steal the ring that Frodo was wearing. It bit off Frodo's ring finger and succeeded in stealing the ring. Frodo turned to try to get the ring, and in the struggle they both fell down the cliff. Fortunately, Frodo was able to cling to the cliff and was pulled back by Sam and Gollum, and the ring fell into the river of lava. Dark Lord Sauron also collapses with the ring. Frodo's quest is officially completed. Gandalf had fly the eagles to the mountain to bring Frodo and Sam back safely. Peace returns to the lands of Middle-earth. Aragorn, with his deeds, became king at Gondor and married Princess Arwen of Rivendell. Then Frodo with Sam, Merry and Pippin returned to the Shire to continue with their normal lives. Sam is married and has a happy life. Frodo continued Bilbo's story The Hobbit as the Lord of the Rings. In the last train to bring the elves to the heavens departed, Bilbo was honored to have a place on this journey because he was once a ring-bearer. But because the wounds on Frodo's body during the de-emphasis journey never dissipated, he also got a place on this journey, to the Heavenly Kingdom to heal and recover. Frodo handed the Red Book back to Sam so that he could finish the story, then parted from everyone and sailed to the heavens with the elves and Gandalf. This marks the end of an era of struggle for the freedom of the peoples of Middle-earth and also ends the journey of an epic trilogy in cinematic history.